My name is Aldo Chavez. I went to Monterey Peninsula College before transferring to CSU Sacramento, where I got my Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology. If we then fast forward 4 years, I then went to CSU Monterey Bay, where I got my Master of Science in Instructional Science and Technology.
My name is Ricky Alcaraz Briceño, but my full legal name is Ricardo Enrique Alcaraz Briceño. At home, my parents and my family calls me Quique, and my friends call me Ricky. I went to De Anza, where I majored in behavioral sciences, and I got my AA in behavioral sciences. I then transferred to UCLA, where I double majored in Chicano-Chicana studies and anthropology. And then after that, I ended up getting my master's in education at the Relay School of Education out in New York City.
My first class that I took was Anthropology 101. It was an introductory course that went over culture, linguistics, archaeology, and it was the first time that I actually enjoyed a class and I actually did well in a class. So I figured, hey, if I'm good at this, like maybe I'm good at being an anthropologist, but I didn't know what that really meant. Even though I knew there was this subject that I loved to learn about, I still didn't know what I wanted to do after community college. It's kind of a weird place to be when you see other students in community college who do know what they want to do and they do know what career path they want to go to. They know what college they want to transfer to, and a lot of times you fall into those moments where you compare yourself to all of your peers around you. So I think for me it was just staying focused.
I ended up taking my first Anthro class here at De Anza, and that was the first time that I saw a Latina professor in front of me. Growing up in the United States, specifically in California, sadly, even though California is a very diverse state, my teachers were never diverse, and I could never reflect myself within my teachers. And at De Anza, I was like, oh my God, Professor Claudia Andrade, I still remember her name. I took that class with her, and the way that she would just captivate the class, I knew that I wanted to continue learning more about anthropology. So I started taking more classes within that.
I grew up in California. I lived within a couple hours of my family my entire life. So moving across the country by myself, but I will add I had my dog with me, so it made it a little bit easier. It was probably one of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to make. I called and spoke to all of my friends, all of my family members to get advice, and everyone said the same thing. Everyone said, why not? Like, why wouldn't you take this opportunity? Like, yeah, you're gonna be far, but there's FaceTime, there's Zoom, there's writing letters, there's hopping on the phone. And I think for me, as someone who has always had a difficult time making friends, that was one of the main reasons I didn't want to go and move across the country, somewhere that I've never been to. I was gonna move there blind. At my age, I think that if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it. And I didn't wanna look back 30 years from now and regret this opportunity to move across the country and experience different cultures and different museums and different weather compared to California. But it's been such a great experience, and honestly, my family loves it because they get to visit me and experience a new city together.
At the time I was living in Los Angeles, but I'm like, okay, you could choose like where you would want to teach. So I put Los Angeles, I put the Bay Area. I put New York City maybe at the bottom of my list. I wanted to go to New York City, but I was like, why would they choose someone from California to move all the way across the country? And when I got my acceptance letter, it said in big, bold letters, New York City. I packed all my life, literally all my belongings into 2 suitcases. Teach for America paired up with Relay Graduate School of Education out in New York City, and that's where I attended. And ultimately, I ended up graduating in 2018 with my master's in education, and my parents and my grandma all went to visit me out in New York City for my graduation.
I am an instructional designer for the Department of Defense. Sounds very, very cool. But essentially what I do is I design and develop various kinds of learning content, whether it's videos, e-learning modules, job aids, manuals, in-person training, or virtual training that helps support the organization that I work for. So a lot of the learning that I create helps close either knowledge gaps or performance gaps for employees within the organization.
I'm a technical recruiter and I work at Bloomberg. Bloomberg is one of the biggest financial tech companies, not just in the United States, but it's a worldwide company. As a technical recruiter, my main job, my main role is to hire software engineers. I focus on hiring college students, students that are about to graduate from college who are majoring in either computer science, computer engineering, or mathematics. The requirements that I look for when literally searching on LinkedIn is: one, are you currently a senior in school? Do you have any software engineering opportunities on your LinkedIn? The biggest one too that I look for is how involved are you on campus? And ultimately, it's about like a 3-month process, providing them with one-on-one resume support, connecting them to other communities within Bloomberg so that they can go ahead and learn more about the process of getting into Bloomberg, the life at Bloomberg.
My first job was working at a Verizon store as a customer service associate. The only part of the job that I liked was on Sunday mornings, where people would come in an hour before we opened the store and we would train them and help them use the smartphones or tablets. From there, I then started working for the Monterey Bay Aquarium. I was a research assistant, and then from there I worked for the California School Board Association, which is where I discovered my career as an instructional designer. Part of anthropology is being a good observer, being able to research. A big part of my job is collaborating with different people in different positions. Being able to just connect and communicate with people on an everyday basis has really helped me be successful in my current role.
The pandemic, that was like a turning point in my life. Teaching brought so much joy, but at the same time, being in the ed space, I also saw there weren't a lot of resources and opportunities for teachers to take more initiative and control over their mental health. And when the pandemic hit, that's when I was like, oh my God, I need to do something different. I ended up applying to a new role back at Teach for America to be on staff. I took about a $25,000 pay cut, and that was hard, but at the same time, I remember my ex-partner being like, hey, it's okay, we're gonna get through this, your mental health is way more important. I was the recruiter for UCLA, so literally like a full circle moment, and I was at Teach for America for only about 3 months when Google reached out to me.
For me, there's 2 different times in my life where I've had 2 different motivations. The first is my early stage in education and career. I would say my sister, Nohemy, is the person who I look up to the most. From not understanding how to maneuver through college applications, to finding ways to study and focus, or even finding a good network when you are a first-generation student in a different city and you get to meet different people. I was thankful enough to where, we went to the same college for a short period, so I was able to still have family when we were away, and she was able to guide me through these difficult times. Once I got my master's, my biggest motivation during that time was also seeing my mom at the age of 60 go back to school to get her bachelor's. We were both studying, we were both working on papers at the same time, and we both graduated at the same time. And I think for me, it was just such a beautiful thing to have and to share with my mom, was to be able to graduate college together.
UCLA has that, or still has this program where it's catered to support first generation college students. And I was informed by the transfer summer program. I applied. And I ended up meeting individuals that are currently still a part of my life. It was geared to ensure that the students were able to know UCLA, navigate UCLA. I met Pablo Reguerin, and Pablo literally supported me. He took me under his wing throughout my 2 years here at De Anza. And I would remember going to the Starbucks out in Los Gatos like every now and then so that he would read over my personal statements, give me feedback. My dream school was UCLA. And when I applied and got my acceptance letter, I was like, I literally cried. And I was like, oh my God, Pablo, like I got into UCLA. So he's like, let's go check out the campus. Like you have to see the campus before you commit to any school. I remember Pablo being like, hey, like let's fly down to LA. And I was like, Pablo, like I feel a little scared. Like I'm undocumented. Like what if La Migra is like on the plane? And he's like, you know what? Like that's okay. Let's drive there.
Don't wait for opportunities to come to you. If you just sit around and wait for an internship to pop up on LinkedIn, or you wait for your career advisor to email you about an internship or a volunteer opportunity, go that extra mile and be the one that makes those opportunities happen. We live in a world where we can find people in charge in these different companies through LinkedIn. Take that extra step and email them if they have any opportunities. Research companies that you really want to work for and email them about how you can help them and how you can provide your experience.
Anthropology really teaches you to be extremely critical. It teaches you empathy and how to be able to interact with individuals. You'd be surprised that those skills are very not like prevalent across, people. I went into the education sector, and then after working in the education sector, I'm now in the technology sector. So I'm in big tech. I used to be in big tech. Now I'm in the financial tech industry. But all the skills that I have and that I continue to use are, of course, skills that I learned while being back at De Anza, while being at UCLA, while being, a teacher. So like all these transferable skills are very much needed and useful.
There's so many different avenues that you can take within anthropology, and it doesn't even stop there. If you then go out into the workforce, there's different branches that you can move into, and I think figuring out what you like would probably be the best thing to start with.
Your major does not determine your career. You make whatever you want to make out of your major to be able to have the lifestyle that you want. I remember always being asked this question back in college: what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, what do you see yourself doing? Instead, we should reframe it and say like, hey, like what kind of lifestyle do you want to have? And what are you going to do to be able to get to that lifestyle?